Welcome again to another episode of the Dialed and Driven Hockey Mentality Podcast. My name is Chris Palmer. I'm a mental performance coach for hockey players throughout North America and Europe. I'm here with Jeff Lerg, former professional hockey player, 5'5" goalie who decided that would not matter. He's dialed, he's driven. This is the purpose of the podcast, is to give you every single week things that are usable, things that'll help you in your dreams, whether you're in youth hockey moving forward or anywhere else along the line, and for the parents or friends who love you and support you. This week, we're going to talk about where we are in the season. Right now, it's mid-fall. It's almost Halloween. It's a time when you've had enough time to see where you're stacked. You're either doing great and trying to find a way to keep the motivation, or maybe things aren't going so great and things aren't what you thought they'd be when you got the gig last spring. So we're going to be talking about all that. Jeff, you want to get us started?
Well, this time of year, the mentality of the hockey player, hockey family has really changed from when I grew up as a kid. So when we were growing up, there weren't as many opportunities to train. Now hockey has become just a 12-month sport for many, unfortunately. And although we run a big summer goalie camp, we have the philosophy and mindset, and we advise our customers and goalies and families, this is an opportunity to stay sharp. In a sense, at times it's a little babysitting service, getting the kids out of the house in the summer, to learn the game, be around a good crew, but we're not telling anyone to overtrain. And what happens is many times athletes, hockey players, they kind of overtrain in the summer. So by the time they get to this point of the year, toward the end of October, it feels like the middle of the season. And they start to become kind of worn down mentally, which can wear on you. In some teams, they have the habit of skating all summer together. And then by this time of year, things may or may not be going as well as they thought, like you'd mentioned. And it's easy for players to kind of lose sight of what they thought they wanted to accomplish this year.
So it's really a battle between your mission and the things that distract you from your mission. And I know you're going to talk about this. It's so hard. You have this picture in your head that when you're going on to this team, you've been picked for this team, you feel great, you can have a billet if you're traveling to another place. Things look so hopeful. And maybe you're even on what looks like a really good team. Well, the calls I get right now are the calls about, hey, the team's not as good as I thought I was. I'd play better if I was on a team that had better guys. The coach isn't giving me what they promised me. Or I'm doing really, really good, but I'm getting tired. I'm getting burnt out. And this is kind of the range. This is where people are. But I want to start off and cue it over to you for the goal part. Truly having a mission and finding a way not to let these distractions stop you from your mission. That's the path. But Jeff, tell us more about that.
Well, I deal with a lot of athletes, both goaltenders and players, and I sit down with them all and I have the conversation on what's your goal for the year? What's your target? What are you trying to accomplish? And it's shocking to me that many of them can't identify what they're actually trying to accomplish this year. And so this mindset and the mentality of kind of getting worn down is much more common to those that don't really have this end goal and end mission that they're chasing. Because although at the start of the year, all of us athletes get in the start and we say, hey, at the end of the year, there's the bullseye I'm aiming for. And then along the way on that bullseye, it's windy conditions, it's turbulence, it's rainstorms. And if you're not crystal clear on what you're going to do toward the end of the year and have that ability to fight through all the ups and downs, you're going to be nowhere close to your target. So the first step in all this and maintaining greatness is actually identifying what is greatness. It's like getting in a car and you're just driving around aimlessly. If you don't have a destination when you first get in the car, you're just wasting time. You're wasting fuel, you're wasting energy. You might be driving, you might be playing hockey, but you're not really in the zone. You're not really playing hockey.
This makes sense. Just think about how hard it must be for a parent with somebody really early in hockey. You want to get them on a good team. You want to get them good training. And that feels like a plan. And honestly, it can look like the best plan because sometimes you grab onto a school that's doing amazing. You grab onto a team that's doing amazing. And you feel like this has got to be it. I mean, just as an example, there's people who go to Shattuck St. Mary. It's an amazing organization. Well, there has to be the feeling that these guys have goals, that these guys will show you what the path is, but they'll show you what the path is for the team and they'll help you. But in the end, if you don't have goals of your own, it's really hard. So I think it's understandable why people don't necessarily have goals except the one big one down the road. I want D1 or I want to go on to pro. But finding a way to take that big dream goal and break it down into something actionable, not just for this season, but for now, where you are. And really to think about the things that can go wrong and what am I going to do in injury? What am I going to do to recover? These things are all super important, but it's so hard to take that time. And there is this sense of, oh my gosh, I'm missing out, when it looks like the world's passing you by. And sometimes when somebody else is getting more ice time, or you didn't get what the coach promised, or even if you're doing great, there's that feeling, I'm on top of the mountain. How do I stay here? So how can you get to something where you're taking all these things, you're trusting an organization, you're kind of trusting the process that there's a coach who's going to tell you what to do. How can you respect that and the goals they have and try to create things individually for yourself?
First off, you have to wash away with the victim mentality. Like, oh, poor me, my coach didn't play me, and poor me, my defenseman screened me on that goal, or my teammate didn't pass me the puck when I had the wide open net. You have to steer away from the victim mentality. One of the best phrases that I was taught as a teenager from one of the coaches was, you better start pointing thumbs and not fingers. And it was, at the time, I was like, what does that mean? Then I finally got it. It was like, okay, you better start pointing to yourself as opposed to looking around you, because no one else around you is going to solve your problems. They're your problems. They're yours to solve. So first off, the victim mentality's got to go out the window, and you have to develop what I like to coin as kind of the junkyard dog mentality. And I had to develop this along the way because I had to kind of learn how tough it was to be this 5'5" asthmatic goaltender trying to go be a starter and win games and keep playing more and more games. So I developed this junkyard dog mentality, just hungry for that next opportunity. That's how the mindset you have to be. And that's probably why I played in the minor league so long, because I just had this mentality, like, I'm just looking for my next meal. I'm looking for my next opportunity. But that's really what it takes. You can never be satisfied with the weekend sweep where your team played awesome and you got 2 shutouts. And you can also knock it on the other side of the coin where you're so distraught after a poor performance. It's all about staying hungry, staying committed, and taking that self-accountability.
Yeah, it's so funny you did this just this week in the academy here in Detroit. Literally the last thing we did Tuesday was this victim mentality versus the powerful mentality. And everybody has this. Everybody has some degree of, oh my gosh, this isn't fair. We're built from the start when you first grow up. That's not fair. Don't do this. And told by your parents, treat your sister right, treat your brother right. And we learn fair is really important. But fair doesn't always exist perfectly in the world. And if we stay in what's unfair, we're in trouble. But if we also don't acknowledge it, we're in trouble. So I agree that, use the thumbs instead of the pointing at others. But I do think it's important to puke out how you feel, because unfairness, if you just let it sit in there, it can kind of fester. But once you have a chance to get it off your chest, then go back to asking, what can I do now? What can I do now? And what we just talked about in this whole thing of this victim mentality, it's so easy to think that the world has caused things to not work for you. I understand that, because honestly, if something happened where somebody didn't do what they promised, well, yeah, that's a problem. But it's just a barrier. What are you going to do? Because you actually, if you have the mindset that you actually do have power, and everybody has some degree of power, every single human has some degree of power. You can look at these things, you can be upset about them and get them off your chest, and then you can go to, what can I do now? What can I do now? And I love Junkyard Dog because Junkyard Dog's scrappy, right? There's this, if you ever look, I won't exactly quote it, but there's something on YouTube, I can't think of the name of the animal, honey badger, the honey badger animal. And I'll say it in nice language, the honey badger doesn't care. You'll see a honey badger go into a hive full of bees, it doesn't care, it's just completely attacking all the time. The Junkyard Dog thing really is a great way to look at yourself and still acknowledge the things that aren't fair, but to find a way to move past it.
And really, you have to learn that skill of being a good self-evaluator. You have to know where you are with your personal game. Dealing with a lot of athletes, they sometimes just don't really grasp the truth on where they are, whether they're a great goaltender who's just playing average and they're not getting a lot of work in their game, so their team keeps winning, and there's this kind of false sense of confidence, like, well, we keep winning, so I'm doing good. Or the other end of it, like, oh, how have you been playing? Oh, terrible, because I had 50 shots and I let up 4 goals, but it's 4 goals. That's such a bad game. So you have to have that true sense of knowledge and hockey IQ or your athletic IQ to really understand where you are. And then I always go back to this. It's that recalibration, resetting those weekly goals, because when I played in college hockey or junior hockey, you get into these weekend games where it's 2 games, usually on the weekend, a Friday and a Saturday. And when that weekend was concluded on a Sunday night, you start to look for your week ahead. You got to plan that week ahead, and then you start to reset those goals. So it's just this continuous weekly process, which then turns into the daily process. So if I had a terrible weekend, I let up 12 goals in 2 games, and I was just not on my A game, I would then just look for the next week and, okay, who are we playing? What have they been up to in their recent games? My goal for the week is to finish the weekend with a goals against average of 2.0. So if I play both games, 2 goals or less. If I play just one because I didn't play so well, it's 2 goals or less. You start to reset these small goals, which then you can take into your daily practice and daily routine. But that was really the best way that I built this maintaining greatness mentality, is that junkyard dog, you're always hungry, and then you're resetting that weekly goal because that's what's going to get you to your yearly target. And the weeks are going to be turbulent at times, but rebuilding that confidence every week is the way to get there.
You're speaking almost a foreign language to the majority of people in hockey. I mean, seriously, guys at the very, very, very high end sometimes are just there because they've done all these right things and it's worked. Work hard, good things happen, but it isn't always like that. And planning with goals is not a super common thing for most people. I don't know about you, but you seem to be a guy that is just different than other people. Is your experience that the people you've been around, I know you've got some exceptional people around you, but you certainly have these other layers of people. Do you see in sort of the regular world that there are a lot of goal setters, people who set goals, people who are mindful of it, who reset each week, break them into micro goals? Do you see a lot of people doing that? Or is this more an elite level type of behavior?
Well, your first part of your statement, I'm the different one of the Lerg family, which is why I'm the only goalie. So yeah, I wasn't ingrained with this type of mentality, which is kind of why I beat to my own path. And I've always had that inherent will to kind of go out on a limb on my own. But I will say that the planning piece, all these things come with maturity. When we're talking and dealing with teenagers, working with them, coaching them, mentoring them, we're not expecting everyone to be that perfect citizen that operates at this type of level as they're growing up. We're expected to absorb the information given. And for me, I always had this kind of lifelong learner mentality, even as a kid, which I still kind of attribute some of my skill set to today. But I was surrounded by good people. I had good mentors and I listened. So we're here in this seat now trying to be those good mentors to coach those that are going through the aches and pains of being a youth athlete. And I read impactful articles and hockey-oriented stuff, and I'd study NHL goalies or college goalies, and I'd read the articles in the hockey news. I'd watch Hockey Night in Canada every weekend. Like I was ingrained in what I was chasing. And so I always had this good information going in. And I think that attributed to having kind of good information being applied around my environment to others. So a lot of that is what you're putting into your mind, what are you putting into your body? And by no means is anyone perfect. I wasn't a perfect kid, but I spent the time because I was dedicated to what I wanted to accomplish. And that's why it goes back to that target, that long-term mission. What are you chasing? And all those little pieces of the recipe will add up.
Yeah, and you're not randomly doing something like for you found the energy for this because this is what you really wanted. Like you really, really wanted to be a great goalie, and because it was so important to you, you figured out, well, what puzzle pieces can I put together, and that worked for you. So same thing for the guys listening. I kind of hear them and can almost hear what they're thinking. You know, yeah, Lerg, great, you're this awesome goalie, but when it comes down to it, you became that because you wanted something so bad, and you did all the little things you could to try to get better. Whether it was reading, whether it was working on these micro goals tied to the bigger goals, it's going to be hard for people to become that, because I really think that's an elite athlete sort of mentality, which doesn't exist in most people that I meet. Most people are just kind of going through life, which I get, but it's possible. And I'd love to talk about one way we can make it happen right now. It could be 5 minutes a week. You might be able to do it in 3, but in 5 minutes a week, and you could pick the time. It could be Sunday night at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, after dinner, whatever it is. Just find a time where you're going to set your phone with a 5-minute alarm, and you're going to sit with a piece of paper and say, okay, big picture, still want to be a D1 athlete, still want to be an NHL guy. Okay, how'd this week go? Not so good. Got benched, didn't go good. Or I did really, really, really well, did good on off ice, whatever. What's the plan for this week to help the big goal? The plan is every single practice, show up early, extra warm-up, extra stretching, extra recovery. Go into games the moment my blade touches the ice, it's sacred ground. I don't care what crap there is. I'm dialed in like I'm on complete attack. That's you're done. You're done. Oh, we did that in 90 seconds. Do that. You don't have to take a lot of time to become what you have and what other high level athletes have been. But you take that step. You put 5 minutes on a Sunday night before the week starts to look at it, feel bad about what didn't work, have a funeral for it, move on. What do I want to do now? What can I do do in the next 5 days to make next weekend awesome to help me toward the big picture?
And you just described something that's very simple. And if you can't do that as an athlete, you don't care. You're not going to make it. It's just a simple fact. If you can't put the time into what you say you're chasing, you fall into what I categorize as that pretender category. And we've talked about that, contender or pretender. And I loved passing the pretenders up that hockey pyramid. I loved it because I could see right through people who say they cared, but then I'd be the one up on the track early in the morning on a summer morning, and I knew that they weren't. Or I'd be the one in the summer shinny skate doing mountains up and down the ice, and I could see them getting off early. So that's really where you can identify to yourself and have a true heart-to-heart. Will I take 5 minutes weekly to re-identify what I'm chasing? And if you can't do that, you're not going to make it. It's just a simple fact. You're not going to make it. If you can't put the time into it, you're not going to make it. So we're not going to feel sorry for you when you fall off the wayside of the hockey pyramid.
Yeah. And on the feeling sorry side, I want you to know, if you haven't thought about this before, I understand. Because when it comes down to it, there is this belief that you go to a program and they're going to help move you forward. There's the belief that, hey, I'm here, it's going to work out. But when it comes down to it, that coach has a mission, that coach has a goal list. And that goal list is win some games, develop some people, attract more people here, be profitable if it's juniors or whatever that is. And in the end, those sometimes are harmonious with what you want, but there really isn't time with 20 different people on a team in youth or 30 on the bigger teams. There's not a lot of time for the coach to really have a lot of individual instruction. I work with a guy named Sean Kaufman. He's been around for forever. He was a tier 1 coach for 15 years at CompuWare, and he's at Big Me now. And he's bringing this culture that he's had all these years of development to there. But the guy spends 20 hours a month, an hour apiece with each of the guys on a call. And just that, a 1 hour call, it's 20 hours. It's a huge, huge undertaking, and it's not common. So please, what Jeff's talking about is if you want to be an elite athlete, you have to do things that other people aren't willing to do. And part of that isn't just working randomly, but working with an incredible sense of focus. And if you can start with 5 minutes on a Sunday night, your life can change.
And that's the best way to put it. It's once you start to do that 5 minutes, it's going to become 10 minutes, and it's going to become another activity during the middle of the week that, all of a sudden you're getting back to the rink to go shoot some pucks, or in your basement, you're doing some stick handling exercises. But it's all about starting. It's all about just starting to re-identify, what am I trying to accomplish? What's the deeper meaning behind battling through all this adversity and, getting through the time when you're benched in the final 5 minutes of the game and not playing a shift, because it's easy to be done at that time. We're not saying it's easy, but when you have that deeper meaning and you start to invest that time, I love the phrase, it's only worth as much as the time put in, because that's the truth. That's the true nature of sports. If you've been investing all this time and sacrifice and you put all this energy toward it, it'll mean something to you to keep chasing it.
That's great. I'm going to use one quick example, and then I'll go to a wrap up of what we talked about today. I'm working with a kid recently. He's 15 years old, and he's had a heck of a time. He had horrific knee injuries, really, really bad. And not only that bad, but he actually had problems with the wounds healing from the surgery. And he was in wound care. Just, you can imagine, there were days where he couldn't get out of his bed. He missed a ton of school. It was horrible for a young guy. And it was so bad that it was starting to affect how he looks at hockey, which I understand, right? Now he's back, he's healthy, but he's wondering about, well, gosh, I don't want to hurt myself again. That was a really bad time. I don't want that to happen, but I still love hockey. So there's this conflict, right? Well, we had a chance to talk about it, and he had a chance to talk about how awful it was, but he's literally standing between quitting hockey and going for everything. And my worry is that if you quit hockey because of something, that might be premature. If you quit hockey because there's nothing in it for you, you've tried, this is where you are, you're going to another point in your life, tremendous. But he's at this point now where he's playing more, and he's playing with more intensity because he now realizes he was worried about the stuff that happened in the past. And he's measuring on a weekly basis, what do I really want? Is my big picture worth this, working through this fear of getting hurt again? And for him, for right now, it's worth it. Maybe it won't be later, but that's the thing. It's so easy to get distracted from the things you want. Doubt, fear, worry, things not going well. So I'm sorry if the team didn't work out the way you wanted this year. I'm sorry if so far the coach isn't giving you the ice time. And I'm also sorry that if you're kicking butt and doing great, I'm sorry you're getting tired, because it's like Groundhog Day, the same day happening all the time. But in the end, please ask yourself on a Sunday night, please, what do I really want? What's my big picture? And if I still want that big picture, what can I do this week to get past the things that didn't work, to keep continuing if they were working, but maybe I'm a little bored, to give everything I can to get the things I want in my life so I can have an amazing career and a life. That's the formula.
I think the key word in that summary that you didn't say directly, but is really applied or that is really assumed is conviction. And the last little story with me was when I tore both my ACLs, I think 8 months apart. I was down with my college hockey playing at Michigan State. I had virtually no good offers to play pro hockey, a couple of minor league offers. And I just came off a good academic career at Michigan State. I was an academic All-American, so smart kid in finance. And I was at that crossroads, kind of how you described. And my dad said, hey, what do you think? Should you go get a master's in finance? Because that was something I showed I could do at a high level. Or was Jeff going to go down the path to go make peanuts at $700 a week in the minor hockey and ride buses all over the country? But my conviction was so strong that my mission, my target of what I wanted to be, said, nope, I'm going to bet on myself. And that's really where you are as a hockey player, as an athlete. You're betting on yourself. So how much conviction do you have in your game? So to all of our athletes, that's what we talk about with being dialed in and driven. So reminder, stay dialed and driven on your goals, because that's truly the only way to accomplish success.
Oh, Jeff Lerg! One of the best saves you will ever see. Keeps this game alive.
Chris Palmer again, the Hockey Mentality Podcast, Dialed and Driven.